Mom, tell us about your mom and dad. Let's start with Grandpa Nelson. What about his schooling, his birth, his business, about the service? Anything you can tell us.
Well, his name was Julius Carl Nelson Peterson.
Wasn't it Christopher?
Oh,
Oh,
that
so
was my mother's.
Oh, so it was Julius
Carl.
Carl with a C or a K?
C.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Carl
Peterson.
Peterson.
Petersen.
Okay.
In Ludington, Michigan.
Okay.
But he was brought up by the Nelson family. Nelsen. His so-called brothers there were George, and his so-called sister was Hannah. He had his father was married several times. He had a real sister named Victoria, who married a man named Rasmus Jensen. They had a son called Roger, Robert, and a daughter named Julia. And he had a half-brother, step-brother, Torvald, Throald, Peterson. I guess he went probably to the 8th grade in Grant schooling. Went in the service, World War I. He was overseas.
What did he do in the war? Okay.
I don't think he was probably more than private first class. That was probably as high as he went. But he was overseas most of the time. He met my mother through a letter through the USO. And she lived in Milwaukee. She was a teacher from a family of 4 sisters and 2 brothers. Her mother was Mary McGarry. Her father was Christopher McGarry. I don't know what her maiden name was. I don't know what it was. Then they came to live in Michigan.
Okay. And Grandma Nelson had how many brothers and sisters?
4 sisters, 2 brothers. Leo, Joseph, Florence, Agnes, Catherine, and Agnes.
And Alice.
No,
no, that was Joe's wife. Right. And Aunt Florence was John Wilt's godmother.
Maybe.
I remember that.
Okay, yes, she was, right. I remember that too. I remember she sent him that little suit.
And Pat Carney was Patty's godmother.
With Shirley.
Godfather. Oh,
Yeah,
with Shirley. Okay. And
Shirley Norman.
Grandma and Grandpa Nelson were my godparents. And I think when it came to the 3 boys, whatever. No, do you remember who's Mark's godparents? Or Paul?
Somebody was
Michael?
Kitty and Grove. And I don't know which
maybe
one.
that.
Maybe
okay.
that was Mark.
And then Paul and Michael. Maybe I was. I don't remember either. Okay, so let's now go to the Wilt family. So, Grandma and Grandpa Wilt. So it was Grandpa or Florian Wilt. Now, what was Florian's middle name?
Lewis. I think he was Lewis.
Okay, and that's like Dad's, right? Lewis. And then Golda Twomley. Do you know how they met?
No. They were all in Litchfield.
Okay. And what about their siblings?
Grandma had a sister named Helen and a brother named George. That's it.
And then Grandpa had
Harry.
Leo?
No,
Who's Leo and Marion?
just somewhere in the family. They
Oh.
were cousins, I guess.
Okay, I thought that was
And
okay.
Maury's dad.
Oh yeah,
Maury's father was. I don't know what his
Yeah,
name was.
but Maury and Mary, we kind of knew because
it was Harry and Mary.
we babysat
and,
for their kids.
Maury's mother's. I don't remember their names.
Okay, and Grandpa Wilt, great Grandpa Wilt, Florian, was he in the service?
No,
Okay, but what were some of the careers he had?
he was a
Streetcar.
streetcar conductor and a policeman, and then he was a taxi owner.
Okay, at Checker Cab,
Uh-huh.
and he and Grandma lived in Litchfield, and then they moved to Dearborn. Might have been somewhere
Yeah,
else in
yeah, they
between.
did. Yeah.
Okay,
In fact, they lived in Detroit first.
okay. And then you and Dad met.
At the Checker Cab Company in the summer of 1940, 46, I guess.
Okay, and Dad went to school where?
Northwestern, Detroit.
And Dad is Marvin Lewis, Lewis,
He went 12th grade.
and then he went into the Army. And then you went to where to school?
Marygrove College. I went to Holy Redeemer. And then I went to college at Marygrove for 3 years.
To be a.
Teacher.
Okay. Then you and Dad met at Checker Cab because you were working in the summer.
Right.
And then you hailed his cab and he took you home. No.
Yeah, that was it. That's about it.
And what we learned yesterday by having some of your cousins here was that you and Dad were both only children, so you had two of your cousins stand up in your wedding.
Right.
So your maid of honor was,
Ellen Kelly.
and your bridesmaid was,
Shirley Norman.
okay. You and Dad first lived in, when you got married in Detroit? No?
Reginald.
That was your first house? Wow. Okay, and then we moved from Reginald in probably 1952.
Figure you were in
Three?
kindergarten.
No, I was in kindergarten.
You were born on Reginald.
Okay, and then I was in kindergarten when we were on Highview. So I think
Yeah.
I was just a couple years old when we moved from Reginald, 1875. What was the address on Reginald?
310,
Oh, 310. And then Highview.
1835.
Okay. And then we moved from Highview to Gully when I was in kindergarten. And it was really only about maybe 5 blocks or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys built that home. And then you stayed there until everybody was out of school.
Yeah.
Michael was in college, right? When you guys moved up to Higgins.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Wasn't he still going to school?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
That's way after that.
Okay. So then from Gully Road, you went and stayed, you always had cottages on Strawberry Lake and Higgins Lake, and then you
Yeah.
got a home and you were on Higgins Lake then. And then when Dad got real sick, you guys came back to Plymouth.
Right.
Okay? And then you're now in Westland.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Mom, let's talk about Patty. Now, what is her full name
Mary Patricia.
and why was she named that?
Making it 4th generation.
Can you recall anything about her early school years? Like,
She was very smart,
oh, you don't have to say that.
but I think that was due to because she had more. She started school in the January term, so she actually was older than most of the kids that were in, say, kindergarten.
And then what happened one day coming home from kindergarten?
Oh, she got stuck in the mud, right? Up to her boots, and there she was, until some neighbor man came and pulled her out. Other than that, she lived a very quiet time waiting for her little sister to arrive.
And that was the joy of her life, wasn't
Yes.
it? And it's interesting that she had to spend 1.5 years in one grade, even though she was smart. Maybe she was daydreaming a lot. And then she went to school, and then she met Rick Knapp, and then they had a family. And is there another memory that you can think of? Oh,
They did a lot of traveling.
and you know what? You guys did rug hooking together. Like, remember when you made those rugs?
She
From
didn't do rug hooking.
Sure, she did.
Oh,
She did.
I-
It wasn't rug hooking, but those big old rugs you guys made.
Yeah.
She did. She
oh,
made those
all right,
rugs
okay.
too. So you guys had that in common. All right. Then in 1951, you were blessed with.
Elizabeth Ann.
And why did you call me that?
Because I liked it, and I think it was at the time. Queen Elizabeth was a big name over in England, and I liked it, and that's why she got, I think, Elizabeth Ann.
And you looked at me, and I looked like royalty, probably, huh?
Maybe.
Okay. Can you think of any memories of when I went to school that stand out in your mind?
No, I can't. Nothing.
I hate to like skip over my whole school life, but then I married.
You like school. I put that. You like school.
I
You
always
did
wanted to be
well.
a secretary. I know that. Typing every semester. Then I met John McDonald, and I had a lovely family, and we moved away.
And I
And
won't mention the boyfriends that she had because they were awful. Her taste in men was awful until she met John.
and then I can remember you were always there when I had the kids. And do you remember when I had Erin and she was late?
Yes?
And what did I do? I called you guys, and what happened?
We came early.
Yeah. And
And
then,
you said you were about ready, and I said, we are halfway to your house now.
and you got to my house, and every day Dad would say, "We're ready. Go have that baby."
Yeah.
So about a week later, I finally had Erin, and she was 3 weeks late. But that was fun because I actually have a picture of Dad holding Erin, which he didn't hold a lot of babies, but I think he was so thankful she finally came. And I think some great memories we've had was meeting you and Dad up in Door County.
Yes,
For-
we did. We had a couple of times. We had good times up there.
Yep, they stayed in the Peninsula Hotel, and we stayed in the campground right there, and we'd go for fish fries, and we'd have
Sightseeing. We did.
prime
We had a good
rib
time.
and fishing. That was fun, very fun. Okay, now John. What is John's full name?
John Christopher.
And he was your first boy. So were you
He was named after the two grandfathers on my mother's and father's side.
So John was,
From John Wilt
and then Christopher.
was my grandfather's name on my mother's side.
Okay. And anything about his school years that you can think of?
No.
I can remember he was all boy, and he did lots with Dad because you had the two girls, and I think Dad was finally happy to have a boy to do stuff with. And then he worked at Lane's Market and met Debbie, and they had Brian, and you guys have had great memories. Did they ever go up and go fishing with you guys? You know, when you'd go in those campgrounds and with your Winnebago? No, I can remember you guys doing that.
No.
Okay,
So you were always in school.
okay,
No,
okay. And then Wooly Mark was born, and Mark's full name is,
Mark Lewis.
and Mark
He
had,
was big. He was a big boy.
and it always seemed like if something happened,
He was there.
he was there and Paul was there too. Paul couldn't run as fast as Mark. So Mark would have instances where he would cut his mouth on
He was always prone to hurting himself,
Yep.
falling down or something.
on the back door and ripping his mouth open. And he slid there through school and then finally found Linda. They married and they kept Grandma's house on Highview going up till a year or so ago. And he's still pretty woolly. And then Paul was born, 18 months later, was it?
No, 2 years.
2 years, okay. And it's Paul Marvin, right? All right. And
Nothing unusual.
just that when he had his appendix out, we didn't believe that he had a stomach ache.
I think he went one semester to college. I think both Mark and he went one semester.
And they learned everything that they needed to in that one semester. And then he met Karen and had a nice family. And he's still working hard. And hopefully he can retire up north like you guys did. And then Michael should have been Susie, but he was born. Gosh, I can remember that day. What a disappointment. We really wanted another girl. But Michael Patrick Wilt was born. And from day one, did he want to be a policeman?
No, I don't know what he didn't know what he wanted to be until I saw the ad in the church paper that Madonna was having an open house. And he was wandering around. I said, why don't you go out and see? And when he came home, he was already signed up and everything. He said, this is what I want to do. And I don't know when he decided whether he was going to be a policeman, whether he decided right then and there, or whether it took maybe a year or 2 years after it was there. But he graduated from there in 4 years. And then he got his master's. And now he is a lieutenant, about ready for retirement.
And he married Karen, and they had 2 girls, and now he has the 5th wheel, carrying on the Wilt tradition of camping and trying to convince all of us to camp with him. Tell us how many states you and Chunks visited.
Oh, what is there, 50? We did all 50, all of the Canadians, except Newfoundland.
And you went to Bermuda. Were there any other countries that you went to?
No.
No, just pretty much the United States. And who were some of the people that you've kept in touch with for a long time? Long time neighbors or relatives?
The Brinzas, the Shaws,
Wiggins.
yeah, Alice Wiggins.
And it was...
We had a lot of card playing friends, but they weren't close friends.
Right. What were some of your favorite foods that you would really enjoy having, even if it was only at special occasions?
We like fish,
Okay. Frog legs?
especially.
That's where I get it from. And when you were in your drinking days, what was your favorite mixed drink?
At the time, I think I liked Harvey Wallbanger. That was a good drink for a while. And I liked, what are those coolers? What do you call them now?
See, not wine coolers.
Yeah, wine coolers.
Oh, okay.
Wine coolers were good.
But remember when they had like those pink squirrels and things
Yeah,
like
green
that?
hoppers and
Yep.
pink and
Yep.
pink lady.
And Dad wasn't really a beer drinker. He was more
He
of
would
a.
rather have a. He would rather have a whiskey drink of some sort. I
Mhm.
think.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you have any other vices? Did you ever smoke?
No.
And did Dad smoke a cigar when he met you? Or no? You said that you saw him smoke a cigarette
Yeah,
once,
he had
probably in the army.
cigarettes, but after we got married, I think he was smoking more cigars then when we got married. Then he went to a pipe, and then he went to nothing.
If you could have had more than 6 children, would you have had more children?
No, 6 was enough.
If you could have only had one child, which one would you have
I
had?
could not pick. You were not the first one to ask me that, and I didn't love one more than the other.